Going on, world? DS1 Ross, and I'm back. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody who take their time out to support me, DS1, and support Sheep Stay Sleep TV. It's very much appreciated. For any of you guys that's coming in, do me a favor. Please hit that like button, please. Share the stream also. Very much appreciated. Thanks to everybody who's been tuning into the Black History Month series of 2019. If you haven't yet, check out 2017 and 2018 also. It's in the playlist section on my channel. Go and check them out. Um, like I said, thanks to everyone again that's tuning in to the Black History Month series of 2019. Very much appreciated. And tonight we're gonna speak on a elder, a great elder in the Black Power community, uh, in the quote unquote conscious community. This is a very revered brother. You know, he's mentioned, he's basically one of the forerunners, for the whole um Pan-African or pro-black movement. And his name is Chancellor Williams. This is a guy that definitely should be noted throughout our history. He's a person that should not be forgotten, should not be somebody that's not mentioned. It's very important to mention guys like him because he, like I said, he was one of the forerunners to what we have today known as the conscious community. He was part of that that underground network of conscious black men who were in tune with other black conscious men. He was down with the John Henry Clarks. You know, he's one of the oldest guys, Chancellor Williams, him and John Henry Clark. So tonight, I want to let you guys know and understand who this man was and understand his life. Understand why did he make understanding who we are his life journey. So let's learn about who Chancellor Williams was. Shout out to everybody in the chat also. I will be shouting everybody out when I'm done. So bear with me. Chancellor Williams was born on December 22nd, 1893 in Bennettsville, South Carolina, as the last of 5 children. So he was the youngest of 5. His father had been born into slavery and had grown up to gain freedom and voting after the American Civil War. So his dad was a freed slave. His mother, Dorothy Ann Williams, worked as a cook, nurse, and evangelist. The family suffered after Democrats regained power in the state legislature in the late 19th century and passed bills disfranchising blacks, as well as imposing racial segregation and white supremacy under Jim Crow. The Democrats did this, y'all. You know, a lot of us like to talk about Republicans, but Republicans and Democrats, it's the same of the lesser two evils, man. It's the same thing. So let me read that again. The family suffered after Democrats regained power in the state legislature in the late 19th century and passed bills disfranchising blacks, as well as imposing racial segregation and white supremacy under Jim Crow. But blacks still vote Democrat. The Democrats or the Republicans, they never were our friends, neither one of them. Williams's innate curiosity about racial inequality and cultural struggles, particularly those of African Americans, began as early as fifth grade. Fifth grade. See why I say, and why I've been saying this whole series, how society was different back then than it is now. This is why these things were more important to the youth. This is why these things were more important to our women and even to our men. This is why. You know, he come from a father who was a slave. He come from dealing with Jim Crow. Policy dictates culture. So under Jim Crow, white supremacy was basically law. It was lawful for them to do what they were doing. So from fifth grade, he wanted to understand what was going on with racial inequality. Why were African Americans being treated this way? Why was him and his people being treated the way they were? Imagine what the average fifth grader got to worry about now. Probably not watching his favorite cartoon. Encouraged by a sixth grade teacher, he sold The Crisis, published by the National Association, well, the NAACP, and the Norfolk Journey and Guide, as well as reading them and using them, reading them and using their recommended books to direct his studies. Years later, he was quoted in an interview as saying, "I was very sensitive about the position of black people in the town. I wanted to know how you explain this great difference. How is it that we live in such low circumstances as compared to whites?" And when they answered slavery as the explanation, then I wanted to know where we came from. Wow, that was powerful. As a part of the Great Migration out of the rural South, the Williams family moved to Washington, D.C. in 1910. His father hoped for more opportunity there, especially in education, and Williams graduated from Armstrong Technical High School. Williams' mother died in 1925, leaving his father a widower. All their children were grown by then. Now, pay attention to that. The slaves wanted to migrate to the north to get better jobs because of the opportunity for education. So if you look at society now, a lot of the millennials, such as, you know, myself, I'm a millennial. A lot of us are not industrially sound. A lot of us don't know how to work well with our hands. And it's because of technology. It was because our parents pushed us to work smarter and not harder. They pushed us into the computer programs to learn how to sit behind a computer all day. So you wonder why these children are sitting behind computers all day and sitting in front of these devices all day? It's because it's in their DNA. Their mothers and fathers sat in front of computers because their mothers and fathers pushed them to work smarter and not harder. Go to school, get an education, so you don't have to use your hands. You see? So you wonder why the millennials and the Generation Zs don't know how to fix stuff. We don't know how to do stuff with our hands. That's why. Because they wanted us to get this education so we could work smarter and not harder. So we didn't have to do the manual labor jobs. Because that's what my dad told me. Because my dad know how to work with his hands. His high school was a vocational high school. So he had to learn how to do things with his hands. He had shop class in high school. You know what our shop class was in high school? Virtual enterprise, where we had a virtual business. And what do you see going on all over the internet today? Virtual enterprising. So I just wanted to point that out because that's very important. You know, a lot of people don't understand, or they always ask the question, why this is this way, why this is that way. You got to pay attention and how things are developed over the time. After working for a while, Williams entered college at Howard University, a historically black college. He earned an undergraduate degree in education in 1930, followed by a master's in history in 1935. After completing a doctoral dissertation on the socioeconomic difference of the storefront church movement in the United States since 1920, he was awarded a PhD in sociology by American University in 1949. Williams began his studies abroad in England, as a visiting professor to the universities of Oxford and London in 1953 and 54. In 1956, he did field research in African history at Ghana's University College. At that time, his focus was on African achievements and the many self-ruling civilizations which had arisen and operated on the continent long before the coming of Europeans and East Asians. His last study, completed in 1964, covered 26 countries and more than 100 language groupings. So basically, Chancellor Williams, he took his studies abroad because he wanted to know, and what he started to study was how we were when we ruled. How did black people live without under the ruling thumb of the Caucasian? How did we rule? How did we rule? What did we do when we ran things in society? That's what he wanted to learn. He wanted to understand at what point did we have power and when did we lose it and how. See, in 1935, Williams started as an administrative principal for the Cheltenham School for Boys in Maryland. 4 years later, he became a teacher in Washington, D.C. public schools. With World War II imminent, he entered the civil service system in the federal government in 1941, serving as section chief of the Census Bureau. Okay. In 1946, he returned to his alma mater, Howard University, as a social science instructor, teaching until 1952. He transferred to the history department. By the 1960s, he was lecturing and writing about African history from a position of Afrocentrism. So when you hear Afrocentricity and Africanism and all of that, that all came from Chancellor Williams. He concentrated on African civilizations before the European encounter and was one of a group of scholars who asserted that Egypt had been a black civilization. Now, some of the other people who was in his group was um John Henry Clark, I believe Amos Wilson. There's a couple of other guys, but I know definitely it was him and John Henry Clark for sure. He was a scholar at Howard until his retirement in 1966. Afterward, he continued his studies and writing. Now they're going to talk about his book. In 1971 and 7 through 74, Williams published his major work, The Destruction of Black Civilization, Great Issues of a Race Between 4500 BC and 2000 AD. Placing it with a white publisher the following year, the book received an award from the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, founded in New York in 1969. Williams worked for years to expand and revise the book before publishing a second edition. He had it published by Chicago's noted Third World Press, a black-owned firm. When he published in 1987, the second edition of the book received wide critical acclaim from the African American community. Since that period, there has been a reevaluation of his emphasis on Afrocentrism, with some reviewers believing that it weakened his work's values as an historical source. He died in 1992 at the age of 98 from respiratory failure. He lived 65 years after his wife passed away. He had 14 children, 36 grandchildren, 38 great grandchildren, and 10 great great grandchildren. The life of Chancellor Williams, y'all. So he was one of those guys who, you know, when you hear all of these things about Egypt and how Egypt was one of our main civilizations, he was one of those, you know, one of the forerunners for that information. But see, what stands out to me the most is the reasoning for him doing this. because he wanted to understand what the racial inequality was about. He wanted to, so basically, he wanted to gain an answer to a problem, and he wanted to solve it with bringing information to his people, bringing the facts, going all around the world and doing the research. So a lot of these questions that we have here on YouTube has been answered 1,000 times over, has been answered 60, 50, 60 years ago. You see? It's just that we haven't digested this information well enough to understand that these men done did the work. They did the work for us. All we gotta do is go and buy their works. They did it already. They answered the questions. So why are we still asking these questions in 2019? Why? When when these questions was answered already. This is why it's important for us to know our history and to know who properly brought this to us. This is why it's important. Because a lot of us still have questions. We asking questions we already had the answer to a long time ago. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight, staying up with me a little late. You know, I appreciate y'all. Let me see who's in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Rising Star. I appreciate you, Rising Star. Spirit of Truth, welcome. I appreciate you, Mr. Sutton. I appreciate you. What's up, Storm? How you doing, Storm? I hope you feeling better, Storm. Great to see you. I'm glad you here, Storm. Shout out to Chef JT. Good looking out, bro. Thanks on the donation. I appreciate it. I'm chilling. I'm chilling, Mr. Sutton. I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you tuning in, man. You said Dr. Umar Johnson talks about how they took these programs out of school so blacks could learn how to work with their hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They been did that. That's why they took all the vocational education out of the school system. You know what I'm saying? No doubt, Bullets. No doubt. I'll come check you out, homie. No doubt. But that's the reason for them doing it, is to make the black man skillless. Because if you go back in history, all the black men, we knew how to work with our hands. That's what made us money. What made us money and what made us independent was the fact that we knew how to work with our hands. You know? You get a group of skilled black men together, they could build you a house. That's why, guys like my dad and all his friends, they all know how to build stuff. But all of, guys like me and their children, we don't know. We're not as good as they were with their hands because of they replace vocational education with technological education. So we're more computer savvy. They could go and fix a car, you know, but we could go and program a computer or clean the windows and clean all the cookies out your computer. We know how to do that, but they know how to fix cars. Both of them could get you money. But if you needed to make money right then and there, what could make you money faster? Knowing how to fix a car or knowing how to clean cookies off a computer? Fixing a car, obviously. And this is what got a lot of guys, a lot of millennials stuck because we're not industrially sound. My dad is from that era of the blue collar guy where you gotta know how to work with your hands. You gotta know how to fix TVs and stuff. Cause back in them times, stuff will break down. So if you a man in the house and you want to watch TV, you better know to do something. I grew up with the pliers on my TV. I grew up like that. How do you think? How do we know years later that that shit worked? Because our fathers was doing that shit, putting hangers on the top of your thing as a antenna. How did we know that those things worked? We know that those things work because we saw our fathers, the ones who were more industrious. We saw that they knew that that stuff worked. That's how we know now to bend the hanger and put it on the TV. But we don't got to do that now. We got flat screens. Technology run the world. And that's true. That's exactly what you're saying, Rising Star, is the truth. And they don't want us to have survival skills. They want us to always be in a perpetual state of slavery where we always need them. You know? That's what it's about. They don't want us to know how to survive. They don't want us to know those things. Everything is technical. Y'all gotta understand how society is built and how they continuously is pushing society forward. How are they doing it? The first thing they do is they take things out of the curriculum. They stop teaching certain things. Definitely. Definitely. Yes, we're spoiled because we're comfortable. And we're comfortable because the people who controls things in society have created this life for us. We didn't create this life for ourselves. We got to understand that too. This is what was presented to us. How you doing, Monique? Thanks for tuning in. You might have to catch the dissertation on the playback. But if you go back in history, all of our black men were industrious. They knew how to work with their hands because they had to. A lot of these men were slaves as children or come from slave families. So the jobs that they did were slave like jobs. They were labor jobs, picking cotton. You know, these were the type of jobs that were available. To where now they took the labor jobs away and push forward technology. Now you have to be tech savvy. You see? And this is why you got a lot of these big companies like Amazon coming in and basically taking over whole little cities because those um those old mills and those old warehouses that was giving men jobs, they got smashed out by Amazon because Amazon bring the technology to the warehouse game now. To where now you don't need a bunch of guys driving forklifts. You got machines that are going pull orders for you. You got machines that'll do the separating and all of that for you. So technology is replacing human beings. Right. You're right, Rising Star, but God also knows that, his children are not in charge of this world. He know that the devil is. He knows that too, Rising Star. He know that we're in the devil's playground. We didn't create this for ourselves. But where we mess up at is we feed into it and we follow it. And we continue to feed the beast. That's where we mess up at, Rising Star. Yeah. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Once again, like I said, I'm not gonna keep y'all much longer. I appreciate all the support. Thanks again. Shout out to my brother, the chef JT. Good looking on that donation, my brother. Shout out to everybody for tuning in, and there you go, Rising Star. There you go. Gotta make you blue. You've been supporting me a lot. And I appreciate it. There you go. You look better blue. You look better blue, baby. So like I said, I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. I will be um I will be coming back. Like I said, I will be wrapping up the Black History Month series this week. So y'all stay tuned. I got two more historians left. Two more historians left, family. Y'all go check out these 8 that I've done. Go and check them out. Check out 2017 and 2018's Black History Month series also. Also catch my car rant series. Stay tuned for more of that. Some more episodes of that is coming. Also, check out my real relationship series. The real relationship series, check that out too. Um, I probably got 1 or 2 more episodes I'm gonna do on that. Y'all just stay tuned for everything, y'all. I appreciate y'all love and y'all support for me, DS1, and for my platform, Sheep Stay Sleep TV. And I will be back tomorrow with the Black History Month series once again, family. Y'all have a good night. Y'all enjoy y'all day tomorrow. Y'all stay safe. Peace.